What do you think?
I think we're dead meat. Real dead meat.
You're dead meat!
Go ahead and laugh, you guys. If I ever find a little bastards that did this, they're dead meat.
The movie begins with a ganja man. And your first guess as to what music is playing during these opening credits? It's exactly right.
Feeling for it every day, you know I want that Mary Jane.
The movie begins in a garage where Grease Monkey Gray Trace is working on a Firebird like a fucking weirdo. The movie begins with a cake baked by a woman wearing the widest damn pants cuffs I've ever seen. The movie begins with a hanging. The movie begins during the Great California Leaf Gale of 1970. Lost a lot of good leaves that day, we did. The movie begins with a home movie, which begins with human scarecrows. The movie begins with a move. The movie begins in gym class, where outcast Carrietta White blows the volleyball game. The movie begins with a dude rolling a wheel down the road, and boy is he tired. The movie begins with a paintbrush making a nice red path towards a title card. The movie begins with a childbirth, but it ain't sperm raining out the sky there, it's rocks, and they're coming for that title card. The movie begins at the White House. Well, this blue house, not like the White House, you know what I mean. The movie begins with John Carpenter's title card. Rev that shit up, Christine. Nice. The movie begins with a wave-skimming title card. The movie begins in a place of worship. The movie begins with some flashy editing that might be a problem for photosensitive viewers. The movie begins with a quote. Who said that one? Haha, Willie Shakes. Nice. And that one? Of course, Beyonce, the Shakespeare of single ladies. The movie begins in the Mountain State, which, by the way, pretty boring nickname, West Virginia. The movie begins in the back country of West Virginia. I always prefer working back of country over front of country. Don't have to deal with all the customers, you know? The series begins in Hawkins, Indiana, in November of 1983. The movie begins in West Virginia again. Only in this movie, it's played by Sofia, the capital of Bulgaria. Presumably, because of tax breaks, motherfuckers! The movie begins at the Glenville Sanatorium in 1974, where the staff does a poor job hiding upcoming plot devices.
So we can open all the cells at once in case of fire, but the protocol is one cell open at a time.
The movie begins, wow, would you look at that, in West Virginia. The movie begins with a spooky house on Desolation Row, a bad part of town where this guy named Shotgun is currently being chased by a demon dog. The movie begins on an Appalachian bike trail that leads to a hot spring. The movie begins where the first movie ended, with Angela Vidal looking pretty damn verde before she's pulled back into the shadows. Adios! The movie begins with a DVD menu. I love this framing device, even if it doesn't make a lot of sense. What, someone went through the process of making a DVD after this disaster of a wedding? Oh well, it's still kind of fun. The movie begins back in the apartment building in Barcelona, where some special forces have arrived to save Angela Vidal and blow this mother up once and for all. The movie begins on a runway at the most frustrating place in the world, LAX, baby! The movie begins with terror, because Dr. Wolfenstein's on our screen.
It's time for Dr. Wolfenstein.
Oh, sorry, Wolfenstein.
I'm your host, Dr. Wolfenstein.
Well, make up your goddamn mind. The movie begins in 1978, about 7 months after the first film. The movie begins with a familiar image backed by some unfamiliar music. The movie begins 2 years after the original, in which time actor Judah Lewis has grown nicely into a Jonathan Byers look. The movie begins with some camera footage at a crime scene. The movie begins with a gun-wielding skeleton, and he is smoking! The movie begins with, wait, what? Oh my god, all these little skelly boys? Listen, I'm no fan of bastard skellies, but when they're running around on fire and dancing in little hats, they've got me eating out of their bony skelly hands. Someone needs to edit them into the music video for Strobe Light, like now. The movie begins on a dark and foggy night with some dark and foggy music. Ooh, sounds like flame hearts in the sky. The movie begins with a newsreel. The movie begins with a passage from the book of Exodus, wherein God basically told Israelites to go out and smash the shit of anyone they found whose gods were the wrong ones. That's not very nice. The movie begins at a solo cup party, and by that I mean exactly what you know I mean. Look at that game of beer pong. The movie begins in a snowstorm just outside of Iping, or Toiping. The movie begins with a very clever title card. Let's shake off all that water now, title card. There you go, invisible again. The movie begins with a yellow-coated teenager running frantically through the woods. The movie begins with a sleepy boy. The movie begins with an obituary. The season begins in the city, Pittsburgh to be exact, almost a year after the events of season 1. The movie begins at a festive Halloween home in Bowling, California, where Mr. and Mrs. Tobias are settling in for bed. Nighty-night, don't let the ceiling fry. Aw, you let the ceiling fry. The movie begins with a guy wondering who's there.
Who's that?
Told ya. The movie begins with a recap. Remember this shit? Great! Bet you don't remember this title card, though, cause it's a new one. Trippy! The movie begins with a recap. Remember this shit? Of course! How could you ever forget? The movie begins with an argument and a mother leaving her husband and daughter. Rough way to spend a turkey day. The movie begins with a group chat. The movie begins with a portrait of a virus. It's the ID7 virus, as painted by Derek Cho.
Nasty looking little fucker, huh?
The movie begins in a spooky woods. How spooky are they? Well, there's a tombstone breathing fire mofo, so you tell me. The movie begins looking like the music video for Stylo. Watch out for Bruce Willis, y'all. The movie begins in a suburban home where Jennifer Check lies beneath a canopy of emo bands as her window-stalking friend Needy begins her narration.
Hell is a teenage girl.
The movie begins with a quote about man, attributed to Calvin Hawthorne, founder of Hawthorne College. The movie begins by telling you it's a sequel to The Shining. The movie begins with a title card and a rock and rollin' song called Recipe for Romance.
Take one boy, take one girl, add a little love and shake it up, shake it up.
The movie begins. Wait, there are 2 kills before the movie even begins? Oh, fuck, does that not bode well? The movie begins with a whole bunch of hey guys.
Hey guys. Hey guys. Hey, what's up, guys?
The movie begins with multiple James Bond credits. There's the first, second, and third. I'd say that triple hitter earns him a title card. The movie begins 2 days before the big one, with a cold open that firmly establishes it as a horror movie. The movie begins with a song about me.
I'm a dinosaur man.
I'm a dinosaur man. The movie begins with Matthew Modine driving his silver mane all around a small Virginian town. The movie begins in Arkansas in 1999, where night nurse Mandy waits to begin her double shift. The movie begins in Boston, right after Uncle Sam joined the big one. The movie begins with a big old truck smashing its way into a junkyard.